Well, Sheldon, we'll all see tonight, won't we? Backs
Better hope.
against the wall for the Leafs tonight. They're looking to avoid the sweep against the Florida Panthers. And it all comes down to this, AB. It's Julie Tocheri and Mike Distefano with you. Tonight could potentially alter the future of this franchise and how they move forward. It's as do or die as they come, down 3-0 to Florida. And we have a big show to tee it up for y'all. O-Dog is going to join us around 12:25. Former Leaf James Van Riemsdyk, who actually has completed the feat of coming back from a 3-0 deficit in a playoff series. He's going to stop by at around 1:05, and Joshua Cloak a little bit later in the 1 o'clock hour, but a lot to unpack ahead of this one, AB. There's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of different angles here. It's insane how much is riding on this singular game.
The future of this franchise, like, you're not really you just can't sugarcoat it. This game means everything for this group. If they don't go down swinging tonight, if they end up getting eliminated and they get swept in 4 games, sweeping changes to this organization.
Yeah.
Absolute sweeping changes. And if they come out and play the same way that they did in Game 3, that's going to happen. That is going to happen. They cannot have the same performance, the same no-show in Game 3. So tonight's game is honestly the most important game of the Big Four's career, their entire career. It legitimately is. And it means so much, not only for them, for the organization. It feels like they're starting to lose some fans here, too. Like,
There's a little bit of apathy happening.
Well, that's it. It's almost as if there's a lot of people in Leaf Station that have just kind of lost faith with this group, it seems like. There's still an opportunity for them to come back and win, but it feels like most fans are sitting there. Like, I'm looking at Twitter and all the, in the comment section of everything, and I'm reading, and a lot of people are saying, it's over. It's done. This team, they just can't get it done. This group, this core group, just can't wake up, and they can't play when the going gets tough. They showed us that in Game 3. What says that they're all of a sudden going to have a 180 pivot and show us in Game 4 that they are able to come in and play these games? Like, what really have they showed us in the past 7 years to prove to us, hey, we're not those losers that we've been the last few seasons. We can get it done, and we can play in these tough physical games, and we can pull out the victory. There's not a lot of faith that that's going to happen.
No, and that hasn't been put on them by anyone other than the players themselves, right? They've come out and they've played the games. And there was some commentary at practice yesterday. They're not listening to what we have to say, but let's play what Mitch Marner had to say, then we'll unpack after.
I think I heard Austin say it, and I think we've been saying it this whole time. We don't care what you guys say. We don't listen to you guys outside of this locker room. We're just focused on ourselves and this group in here.
Good. That's great. It should be the case. They should be buckled down during this playoff series. It's just crazy how much they talk about it.
Here's the thing. It's such lip service.
Yeah.
Everything that's coming out of everyone right now on that team is lip service. I don't think anybody means a thing that they say. And that in particular, Mitch Marner always comes out and he always talks about, I don't care what the media thinks. I don't care. I don't talk to the media. I don't talk about what's happening. All my friends, they know, don't bring up anything that they read. He just wants to focus on playing hockey. But for someone who doesn't care what the media thinks, he talks about it an awful lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
If he doesn't know what we're saying about him because he doesn't care, he doesn't read it, how does he know to dispel what's being said?
And
you know what I mean?
Maybe furthermore, AB, nothing's getting said right now that is not as a direct result of what they've put on the ice.
Absolutely.
So with no goals from the core 4 in the first 3 games of this series and a win over Tampa Bay where they didn't really have to play their very best hockey, we didn't create the narratives. The media didn't create the narratives. They created it with their play.
And that's the thing. What we're saying out here in the media, within the fan base, online, whatever, are they not saying the same thing inside that locker room? Because that'd be a concern to me if they aren't.
Yeah, there'd be very little self-awareness if that was the case.
I know they're coming out.
If they really believe they had a good third period, if they really believe these little things that Sheldon Keefe has opted to just be the very supportive coach in this playoff series. You've said you wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of Rick Bonus out of him and saying, listen, their best players are playing better than our best players right now.
No, I don't even want to hear best players. We've heard that.
Yeah.
I don't need to acknowledge Florida. I need him to say, our guys are not playing anywhere near to the standard that they have set for themselves and that they have set for this organization. They need to pull themselves out of this funk. They need to get going, or we're out of here tonight. Like, that's what I need to hear from them. Instead, we're hearing these fluff comments. Oh, the production of this group, we believe in them. They're getting the chances. We'll make sure. I believe that these guys, they've done it for us in the past. They'll come through again. Like, it's just complete lip service what's coming out of this group. Very little accountability.
Yeah.
Very little accountability. I think that's what's somewhat starting to, like, anger Leafs Nation. It's like, show a little bit of emotion here.
I know. I will say that the anger feels like it's turned to apathy a little bit just among the fan base, AB. And I was saying to you on the walk over here, how much do you think that has to do with the weather? Like, it's sunny outside. If it was last week and it was rainy and as terrible as it was for the first round and the first bit of the second round, I feel like Toronto might be a little bit more up in arms, but there does seem to be this kind of acceptance, and now it's on the Leafs to swing things the other way here.
Well, 100%. It's always been on them. Do we have that audio from Sheldon Keefe from earlier today? Is that ready to go? Because I do want to hear what Sheldon Keefe was saying. Let the audience hear for themselves, because it kind of irked us a little bit when we were prepping for the show. Here is Sheldon Keefe today on having the core fours back through 3 games of this series.
It happens quick, right, in terms of how the narrative and things change. As I said yesterday, the production and the performance of a lot of these guys that we're talking about and questioning here now, they're the reason why we're here, why we're even playing when there's only 8 teams left playing in the league.
Completely valid.
Well, okay, we could take this in 2 ways, okay? I'm going to take it from a glass half full approach and a glass half empty approach,
right.
Okay? Glass half full, absolutely. You look at what they did in the first series, and for sure, they dragged this team and won a round and got them into the second round. Yep, that's completely true. But then you flip the script into the second series and you reread that quote, the production, the performance of these guys that we're talking about and questioning, they're the reason why we're here. Absolutely, they're the reason why you're down 0-3 in this best of 7 on the brink of elimination. Those guys have 0 goals for you in 3 games, 2 of which you lost by 1 singular goal.
Yeah.
Like, this is between the 3 games, there's a 4-goal difference in this series, 2 of them being 1-goal games. You get 1 or 2 goals from your big boys in either game 2 or game 3. This is a completely different series. Completely different series. So, yes, you could look at it in round 1 and be like, yeah, they got us here. But in round 2, they're the reason why they're in this hole as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's really the excuse that Sheldon Keefe thinks it is by propping up his stars and saying, this is the team. They've done it for us before. They'll do it again. Well, let's see. We thought that they were going to do it in game 3. When that was in a must-win scenario. Now it's really must-win. We'll see if they try and wake up tonight, because they certainly didn't on, was Sunday night? Did not at all.
No, and I think the approach here is it's so much easier said than done, AB, to play loose and play free when you don't have the luxury of having any freedom or any margin for error now. But I think there has to be a real focus on not playing afraid to lose. And we talked about this yesterday, the way that there just seems to be such preparation to play against Tampa, against Florida. How do we counter Florida? How do we counter Tampa? The Leafs have to go out there without this fear and this insecurity that they seem to always have hanging over them and just play without the fear of losing, play to win, and play to take the game to this Florida team as opposed to sitting on their heels waiting for Florida to take it to them and hoping to counter them in that way.
Yeah, they got to dictate. At the end of the day, like we've talked about this a lot. Everyone who's been covering this team throughout this playoffs have. They have not scratched the surface of what they can be, of what they need to be a successful team and to compete for the Stanley Cup. Right now, they're not even close to it. Not even close, but they can be. And the way to do that is, again, to play aggressive and to play, like you said, without the fear of losing. Like, they do have to make sure that they're coming in with a winning mentality. And, you're hearing the right things, I suppose. And, we're hearing Morgan Riley talking about how they're not going down fighting. You start with one game. You start with a shift, and then you win the shift. Then you win a second shift. Then you're winning periods. Then you're winning games. And then all of a sudden you win 4 in a row, and boom, you're into the next round. I get it. It's one shift, one game at a time. But, this group needs to just go out there and play with a little bit more urgency, and that has to start right from puck drop. And it can't only last 5 minutes, right? You've got to have a very long gas tank, and it's got to go 60.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen a 60-minute performance from this team at all in these playoffs.
Not through 9 games. No, we haven't, AB.
Not at all. And, that's what I think is when you look at this team, and yeah, you can talk about the good stretches that they've had, but they've never been dominant. I think you could look at game 2 against Tampa, one in which I will also say Victor Hedman was not in that game, right? Like that. So you can look at that and be like, well, maybe that's why they were able to dictate things a little bit when that guy was out of the lineup. Outside of that game, there's not one where I could definitively say, wow, Toronto really took it to them. Game 2, they played well in this series. Like Bobrovsky certainly maybe stole that game for Florida, but it's not like Florida didn't have their chances and opportunities as well. You know what I mean? So tonight is a chance for them to go out there and just try and win this game, and they need to do it with a 60-minute effort. If there's any amount of like lackadaisical play throughout any moments of tonight's game, we've already seen what happens. That puck usually ends up in the back of your net because that team on the other side, they're playing free. They're playing with found money right now, and it's working for them.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to kind of alter the mindset of both of these groups. The Maple Leafs have to have belief in themselves that they can get it done, and they got to put a little bit of doubt in the minds of the Florida Panthers. And the only way you do that is by winning tonight's game.
Yeah, like they have one regulation win through the first 9 games of this postseason. Like they clearly haven't been overwhelmingly dominant in any of these games. AB, Joseph Wall, between the pipes tonight. And it's crazy that we didn't open the show kind of with our hair on fire about this. I feel like if they were up 2-1 or something in the series, or down 2-1 or something like that in the series, or up 2-1, we might be freaking out about this a little bit. But Joe Wall is not freaking out about it in the slightest. From all the reporting we've read, and we're going to have Josh Cloak on a little bit later, he has some insight as to Joe Wall's attitude. Apparently, he's just the chillest dude out there right now. He went for a little swim yesterday. He was whistling a little tune on the way to the arena. Like, he doesn't seem like he's letting this moment rattle him. And I don't know if we ever would have predicted that Joseph Wall would be the guy to start in this must-win game, as much as this is the biggest game in a lot of these guys. It's the biggest game in the core four's career. It's the biggest game, obviously, in Joseph Wall's career, who's probably going to be the future for the Leafs. It's very interesting, his approach to this, because I've really been impressed by the way he's handled himself in the media, and also the way he handled himself in the third period of that game on Sunday. That last goal, I don't think he'll forget. He was the last guy to make a poor read. There was about 5 before him that made poor reads.
Was a mess.
So I'm not going to put that one on him, I don't think. And I'm very interested to see how this goes for him tonight. What if he catches fire, man? It's just kind of the Cinderella story that, as a Leafs fan and as a Leaf,
to the narrative.
You got to cling on to right now.
Right? Like, it would certainly add to that narrative, right? Like, I think Kevin McGran put out a piece and was talking about, hey, we've seen this before, right? A goaltender comes in, a young goalie, unproven, and out of nowhere becomes, the pillar to take that team to the next level. Matt Murray was that guy in Pittsburgh, many, many moons ago. He's no longer that player, to the point where Sheldon Keefe said he didn't even consider starting Matt Murray in this game today. But he was that guy once upon a time, and Jordan Binnington was that guy once upon a time. Could Joseph Wall kind of have a similar story here, where a young, unproven goaltender who's got some promise comes through big for this team, wins them a game, maybe 2, maybe he can go further and all the way.
Who knows?
Who knows where it could take him? It starts with one.
Playoffs.
It does start with one, and everybody will echo that. Like, we've had a lot of people on this station over the course of the last couple of days who have come out and said the same things. It starts with one, right? Justin Williams, Chris Pronger. We're gonna have JVR on in about an hour or so. I bet you he'll say the same thing. Just got to win tonight, and then who knows what happens going forward. But for Joseph Wall, I mean, this is a pressure-packed situation. Like, he's got to come out here and perform. And look, he has performed quite admirably the entire season. I mean, you look at his numbers throughout the course of the regular season. I know it's regular season, and it's a very small sample size, but he got into 7 games this year and had a .216 goals against and a .932 save percentage. That's really good. Really good. One of those games coming against these same Florida Panthers. Able to pick up a victory against the Florida Panthers. So he has success not only against this team, but in playing behind this group. And Sheldon Keefe clearly feels that Joseph Wall will give them the better opportunity to win and keep their season alive than Matt Murray. I agree.
Yep.
I definitely agree with that. But we'll see what he's got. It's extremely unproven. He's got 13 games of NHL hockey under his belt. That's it.
Yeah.
And now the future of the franchise is on the shoulders, in a way, of Joseph Wall and how he performs tonight. Because if he's if he's poor tonight and lays a stinker and they go down and they lose this game, let's say 6-5, right? The big boys have a big night, but if that guy
Oh man,
is a
don't
little
even
bit
say
worse,
that.
I
Don't
mean,
even
now
say that.
it's just really
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
worst case scenario.
He's getting
but-
some glowing kind of reviews though from some prominent goalie minds around hockey right now. AB, like I was doing some poking around on Joe Wall and his fans this morning. We know Mike McKenna, who is a really prominent voice in the goaltending world in hockey. He thinks that no matter who was available tonight, Joseph Wall gives them the best opportunity to win a Stanley Cup, and he actually has been beating that drum for a while. I remember we had him on the station. He was part of Joseph Wall's training, and
I'd like to know. I would like to know how much of that. Like, is he considering Samsonov as a fully healthy option in this conversation?
no, he thinks that Joseph Wall is more sound technically than both Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov. He tracks and processes the game a little bit faster, and this is in Mike McKenna's mind based on what I read in his article.
Right.
He thinks he processes the game better, and he thinks he has a more sound technical game than both Samsonov and Matt Murray, who both, you think about the way they play, is pretty loose.
weird thing
Loosey-goosey.
about
Samsonov
Samsonov-
could lose the net sometimes, and he thinks that Joe Wall loses the net less than Samsonov. And the other person,
Yeah.
Curtis McElhaney, thinks that Joseph Wall should have been in from game one. So, again, these might be things that I'm clinging to, but I'm delivering them to you, Leafs Nation, because it's what we have right now, guys.
It is, and like he's got to come out and perform tonight.
Yeah.
And you know, unlike some other stars on this team, he hasn't shown me any reason to believe that he won't be able to come out and have himself a game and give this team a chance to win and keep their season alive. Like I think Joseph Wall is more than capable of putting on a performance tonight to give this team a chance to win. And that's all you can ask of a rookie goaltender who's won you 13 games.